Hey all, so between live streams and some recent war videos, I've recently gotten some comments on my dexes of Apocalypse's specials and some requests to make videos on how I approach them. I famously have said before I do not consider myself an expert at very difficult dexes. I do not attempt things like full dexes of Bishop Special 1, Punisher specials. That's not one of my strengths as a player. But I have found a way to make Apocalypse's specials very manageable and consistently manageable. Because one of the things I hear a lot about him is okay, in war, it's not worth it, don't go for it. In general, I think this is pretty smart because the price of being wrong in war is pretty high. But sometimes you just really feel like you don't have an option. The block damage is going to be too great, you've messed up, and you don't have enough health to deal with it. He's going to go unblockable. He is unblockable. There's some reason you need to go for either the full dex or more of a dex. And so I'm going to go over how I approach those because my focus is on consistency. This is not some kind of like cool acrobatic trick that you have to be particularly good at the game to get, in my opinion. This is just a way of thinking about it that you can practice and then execute very consistently and safely. So I'm going to go over the special 2 first because I think that one is just simpler, and then we'll go over 3 different ways to approach the special 1. So first, let's look at the biggest mistake I see with trying to dex the special 2, and that is just mad dashing back and then trying to deal with those 3 energy balls. As you can see here, if you do that and you're not perfect, then you are still recovering from the animation of avoiding the second orb when the third one smashes into your face. This is obviously less than ideal. It is possible to do the full dex at a great distance. I've seen it done before, but I believe that the timing is a little trickier. It's harder to know exactly when you have to start dexing so that you will actually have time to avoid all 3 hits. So what I propose to do instead is stay close. I actually forget who showed me this, but note right there, when the cannon slams into the ground, you want that hit to trigger dexterity. Here it is again in slow motion. Boom, we dex right then, and that puts us at the distance where, for me, I can comfortably, consistently dex all 3 orbs, getting further away from each one. This does still require practice, obviously, but I've been doing this for a while, ever since somebody pointed out to me that whole stay close and it's easier thing, and it has made it so that I am comfortable enough to go for the full special dex in war, and I've done so multiple times now without messing up. I'm going to go ahead and knock on wood here, but hopefully that one tip, staying close and triggering dex when the cannon slams into the ground, makes it so that you feel as comfortable. So next, like I said, we're going to go over 3 different ways of dealing with the special 1. The first is the one I've been using for a very long time. I find it very consistent, and it's one I learned from using Guardian, and that is to parry the first hit of the beam, block the second, and dex out of the third, as so. And the thing I think about is parrying right as the cannon seems to stabilize at level, so down, there. And then you can comfortably dex out at the end and punish it. I'll show this again. So notice that the cannon, when it forms, starts above level, comes down below it, and then stabilizes. And you want to really look for, as it stabilizes, that's when you block. When using Guardian, this has the added benefit that it triggers his perfect block mechanic, which lasts long enough to cover both of the beams you're blocking, and therefore makes this a 0 damage method of dealing with the special 1, which is why I like it so much. But it's also just in general the way I'm most comfortable with mitigating damage from the special 1, and it works at least somewhat well on pretty much anybody. Next, we have a method that I know a lot of people are more comfortable with, which is to dex the first hit of the beam, block the second, and then dex the last one and still punish. This is also quite consistent, and it can also trigger Guardian's perfect block, but you only get the power gain from one of them, which is why I never really got used to it. Guardian being my primary answer to Apocalypse for so long, but it can mean less block damage overall with most characters. For me, it feels slightly less comfortable. I'm just a little bit more likely to mess up that timing on the block of the second hit and then just get wrecked by the final two. But I was able to get it pretty quickly despite not really enjoying the method when I started practicing it. So if that's the one that clicks for you, absolutely do this. It works for many, many people, and you could be one of them. Last up, we have a method that TripleU, whose channel I'll link in the description, showed me. I was talking to them about how I find the Apocalypse Special 1 full decks difficult, and they showed this to me, and I don't feel quite comfortable doing this in War yet, but I've gotten it a lot in solo content, and it feels like it's the one that's really clicking for me. This is what helps me get the timing. So going over the method before we see it, what you want to do is, it's actually pretty similar to the first one, where as the cannon comes back up to level, you dex 3 times. And you're not hurrying it, but what happens is the first dex doesn't even feel like it's causing anything to miss at all. It's more for timing. And then the second and the third ones are what's actually avoiding the beams. So go and then you dash. It feels like it's more just a rhythm thing than actually trying to dex all 3 beams. That may not actually be what's happening. I'm not gonna really speculate on that. But to a large extent, it doesn't matter to me, because when I had seen people fully dex the special one before, it wasn't something I could reproduce. It was like, oh, okay, cool, they have the timing down, I don't. Maybe their reflexes are better. I couldn't find a way to line it up so I could do it every time. But thinking about it this way, after TripleU showed me this, has made it much easier for me. Now I have a reason to do this timing this way. It also lines up with the parry dex method that I'm so used to, and I've started pretty reliably dexing this. I do this in Arena every time I face Apocalypse. I do this in solo content. It feels like it's clicking. So hopefully the same is true for you, and hopefully over the course of this video in general, you felt a little bit less scared of Apocalypse, because they are long, complicated specials, but they are much easier to deal with than something like Bishop's full decks, which I also know is possible, but doesn't feel like something that I'm going to be getting reliably soon. But hopefully this took Apocalypse's specials off that list for you. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.